From the opening title of this screen, you might think this is an exciting, fabulous trip to Las Vegas, complete with a fireworks show on the strip, but no. It's just AV Poker from Games Express. I'm your host, Mr. MegaManFan. This is the PC Engine Files, and we are back with one of the most infamous game developers of the PC Engine platform. Games Express is known for low quality, unlicensed, and very softcore cheesecake PC Engine games. I'm using softcore and cheesecake because I don't want to get flagged for adult content, which is also why I'm not playing the special version of AV Poker. But it would probably be more exciting because this is just video poker. Have you ever played video poker? Then you've played this game. You get dealt a hand of cards. You pick a couple of cards to keep. You get dealt new cards. If you have a good hand, you win. If you have a bad hand, you lose. Whatever amount you bet is multiplied by the odds of the likelihood of getting that hand. That's how video poker works. You can go to any riverboat casino, any gambling establishment, any keno spot, and play video poker. In fact, if you're on the Strip in Las Vegas, you can pretty much walk in the door of any establishment there, and there's a video poker machine. Just put some money in, and you're good to go. If you want to relive that experience in the most boring, tedious way possible, AV Poker is for you. It says good luck every time you make a bet and get dealt the cards. And that's appropriate because good luck having any fun with this. Yeah. Sometimes the games just speak for themselves, don't they? AV Poker doesn't have much to say. And I don't have much to say about poker because I assume you all know how to play poker. And if you don't, the screen right here tells you what to do. You want to get 2 pair, 3 of a kind, a straight flush, a full house, 4 of a kind, a royal flush. It's all combinations of cards that are randomly dealt to you from a deck of 52. So get all of a suit or all of a straight combo, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, jack, whatever. You make those combinations and you win money. And amazingly enough, by random luck, I just won there. I got a full house, 3 of one card and 2 of the other cards. So that's one of the best hands you can get, and probably statistically speaking, one of the likeliest hands you'll get of the rare hands in poker. So there's not much more I can offer you about AV Poker that isn't self-evident. You've played poker, you know how this works. And I just won 2 hands in a row, so it's not going to get much better than that. Let's instead switch to some footage of my cat Tango sitting on the controller and preventing me from playing any further. Not that I really wanted to. So that's AV Poker. I'd say it's got a decent background music for Games Express standards, not up to normal PC Engine developer standards, but by their own low ability to create games, it's okay. It would get annoying after any amount of time, but on short listens, you can put up with it. And as far as poker goes, it's video poker. Would I buy this? No. Would I play this on my SSD 3? No. Does it exist? Yes. And that's the truth about most Games Express releases for PC Engine. They exist. I'm Mr. MegaManFan. This is the PC Engine Files, and today we are looking at Puzznic, which was developed and produced by Taito in 1989, and subsequently ported to damn near everything. Not the least of which being the PC Engine, which is why we're featuring it here, but also NES, Game Boy, Sharp X68000, Commodore Amiga 64, MS-DOS, ZX Spectrum, Atari ST, Amstrad CPC, FM Towns. It was on everything. The arcade and the FM Towns versions are rather infamous because at the end of each level, there's a naked lady, and that naked lady is subsequently removed in all the home ports, which were handled by Ocean Software, except for a 2003 PlayStation version that was handled by Ultron. Now, even though this is a tile matching game, it's probably not the kind of tile matching game you're familiar with, and this caused me quite a bit of trouble in my playthrough. For one, you can't swap tiles. There's no picking a tile and switching it with another tile. The only way to match the tiles is to make them drop down next to a tile, either horizontally or vertically, and when you do, both of them disappear, and if you get a group, all of that group disappear, which also results in some mystifying puzzles that you can't solve because there are moving pieces on the board that block you from dropping pieces down, and then if you have one piece left over because of that and nothing to match it with, you can't win the level. So at some point I was like, well, to heck with this. If they're going to make this some sort of cryptic unsolvable puzzle, I'll just play the action version of the game. But the action version is maybe worse because it's completely randomized and the pieces fall at such a rapid rate that it's just about impossible to make matches before your screen fills up with tiles. And it doesn't even game you over like Tetris or Dr. Mario when you get to the top. It just waits for you to make a match and then just rapidly drops more tiles into the playfield so that it blocks you from making more matches. It is stupefying why it goes so fast in the freestyle mode, and it's mind-boggling that you can't swap tiles in the puzzle mode. And yet somehow, according to Amiga Power, this is the 34th best game of all time. I don't know about that. I think I would prefer something like Panel de Pawn, where you can swap the tiles and they move up at a gradual pace so that you can actually match the tiles as they fill into the playfield. And then it gets faster over time and you get forced to get better and make matches quicker, but it doesn't punish you right from the very beginning the way Puzznic does. And I almost wonder if this is a facet of the PC Engine version, and I need to compare it by playing it on something else, Game Boy or Commodore 64, one of those other ports, and see if it really runs this fast and is this uncontrollable. But the whole idea of matching tiles by gravity alone and nothing else is just infuriating if you've been playing any kind of match 3 games on your cell phone and you're used to being able to swap pieces, rotate pieces, shift pieces. You're so used to being able to move things around to make a match that when you can only move left, right, and down and gravity constantly pulls your play pieces into the places they can go, it just, okay, I get that that's part of the design of the puzzle and that's intentional on the developer's part, but it's, maybe this is a game that was just better in its time because it feels like puzzle games have passed the concept of Puzznic by. They just don't hold the same value if they use antiquated concepts, but then that can't possibly be true because the oldest versions of Tetris are just as fun to play as the modern versions of Tetris with all the additional spins, rotations, and slides that you can do that older versions don't necessarily have. So I don't know if I'm just too dense for Puzznic or if Puzznic is just moving too fast on this particular console version, or if there's just something about swapping tiles that I'm not seeing. It's certainly not in the Wikipedia entry for this game, and I don't have an instruction manual because this is all I have. So if there's a way to swap tiles that I don't know about other than just letting gravity do its thing, let me know, because I've tried the 1 button, the 2 button, the run button. I've tried every button. The only thing I can do eventually is just give up when I can't get through a puzzle. And then the freestyle mode, I just get nowhere fast. And I do mean literally fast with the rate that you see these pieces dropping into the playfield. I don't know, man. I don't get it. There's clearly something I'm missing. But this game does have a legacy that has survived beyond PC Engine and its counterparts. As Wikipedia notes, many clones share the same basic gameplay, but have added extra features. Boy, howdy, I'm sure they have. Apparently, it's been on various phones as Addled or Germinal, and there's a PC clone called Bricks that was released by Epic Mega Games. Android devices got a version called Puzznic, and there's an iPhone clone called Gem Panic, and Blockbuster Hard Puzzle Game appeared for iOS just 2 years ago. I wonder if Taito is getting any of the money for those. If not, they probably should be. But I certainly would like extra features in Puzznic. Just the ability to swap 2 tiles that are next to each other would be freaking fantastic. It doesn't even have to be horizontal and vertical. Just horizontal alone would be enough. But speaking of enough, I think this is enough ranting about Puzznic, which disappoints me to no end because I love puzzle games and I really wanted to like Puzznic, but this one is what Brian Alvarez from WrestlingObserver.com would call no buys. I'm Mr. MegaManFan and this is the PC Engine Files. Today we are looking at Gunboat, a TurboGrafx 16 game which to my knowledge never came out on PC Engine. Although I don't think anybody in Japan is complaining about that. Gunboat was also released on the Amstrad CPC, the ZX Spectrum, and the Commodore Amiga. And it feels like a PC game that should have stayed on PC instead of trying to come to TurboGrafx 16. Because, I hate to say it, there are certain technical limitations that this could not overcome. Now, in the heyday of 8-bit and 16-bit consoles, many games were actually better on their video game-only counterparts as opposed to their PC counterparts, which is why you have series like Fracky, where he compares the ports. I believe it's called Port Patrol, and he notes that the PC versions can often be vastly inferior compared to their console counterparts, but I have a feeling that swings the opposite end of the pendulum in this particular case, because the sound is annoying when you're listening to the machine gunners fire and the actors scream as they're hit. It's very repetitive, very monotonous. The machine gun fire gets tiresome quickly. A home computer version with a disk or hard drive or combination of the two could have certainly stored up more sound effects than that. The limitations of the HuCard side, they prevent it from holding much more data that would have been necessary to make it more robust. And the lack of a soundtrack while you're doing these missions, whether they're the practice missions or the real thing, also hampers the enjoyment of this game to a great degree. You have to hear the machine guns and the screams and nothing else. Not that you'd necessarily want to hear anything else, because the game opens with one of the poorest renditions of Daniel Bryan's theme song that I've ever heard. And if you're not a pro wrestling fan and you don't know what I mean by that, it is a famous classical composition by Richard Wagner, known as The Ride of the Valkyries. And if that rings a bell in your head and you hear then you do know what I'm talking about. But the version of it in this game that opens the game is even worse than my performance just now. And these missions, the actual missions, are no fun either. It's terrible. There's a very poor targeting system here. You have a limited field of view to shoot at the targets because over half of your screen is taken up by the gunboat that you're on. So you can't even see what's coming up on the horizon, what you're coming up to. And unless you're using the grenade launcher, there isn't even a crosshair to aim anything at. So you have to guess between the position of the two guns, as you're seeing here, what you're actually aiming at. Somewhere in the middle, you have to imagine a crosshair there. This reminds me of one of the speedrunning videos I watched for GoldenEye. I believe it was Carl Jobst, you absolute legend. And in the video, he talked about how GoldenEye speedrunners would actually paint their own crosshair on the screen so that they could complete missions more quickly. That might be necessary, not just for speedrunning Gunboat, but just playing Gunboat, period. Most importantly, this lacks the visceral excitement that something called Gunboat should actually have. If you've watched any Vietnam movie, any movie with combat in a tropical jungle setting or river setting where somebody is on a gunboat, it looks, I mean, don't get me wrong, it looks extremely dangerous and you'd probably die, but it sure looks like fun when you're standing at the head of a boat, firing a gun, seeing the recoil pump your arms back as you pound out round after round of ammunition. Man, that looks exciting, doesn't it? None of that is captured here. You don't get that feel. You don't feel like you're actually firing guns off. You can't even rapid fire them in most cases. You hit the button, you discharge ammo. You hit the button again, you discharge ammo. Perhaps that's more realistic. Maybe the gunboats of the era of the Vietnam War were not rapid fire, but at least in movies they make them look like they are. So you would want to experience the lack of reality as opposed to the actual reality. And the video game doesn't even afford you that. You can't immerse yourself in it. And you just fire one shot and fire one shot and hope you hit something and fire one more shot. And sometimes you hit it and sometimes you don't. And even when it seems like there's some risk reward involved, like you've got to take these targets out before they take you out or before they hurt your comrades on the boat, it's not like you know them. It's not like you see them. It's not like you interact with them. And the same goes for the enemy. They're faceless. They're nameless. You know nothing about them other than they're trying to kill you, so you're trying to kill them. So, whatever. Look, if you want to play a war game, play Gears of War, play Splinter Cell, play Command and Conquer, play just about anything other than gunboats, because I can't recommend it. It seems like it got decent reviews back in the day. According to Wikipedia, it was rated 9 out of 10 in video games and computer entertainment. And the PC version got 4 out of 5 stars in Dragon, while the Amiga version got 3 out of 5. I suspect all of these reviews are based on PC versions of the game, because on the TurboGrafx 16, whether it was hardware limitations or size of the hue card limitations or just poor ability to port it by accolade limitations, it doesn't hold up. And if you want to own a copy of Gunboat for your PC Engine / TurboGrafx 16 collection, well, that may be the final nail in the coffin here as far as whether or not you would want this game loose $31, complete 39, new 53, which puts it on the lower end of TurboGrafx collectible games, but puts it on the higher end of the amount you'd want to spend for something that you're going to get a limited amount of fun out of playing. Now, perhaps in emulation, you might start to get somewhere with this and start to actually enjoy it. As you can see from this particular section of my gameplay footage, you can actually assemble a team. But again, I question the value of that because you don't actually get to know any of these people and you don't even really know what their weaknesses or strengths are. So why are you selecting them? What good does selecting them do? What does creating a profile do for you? And why is the generic character in the profile when you don't create one named Duke? The Duke of Earl? Duke of Flies? I don't know what he's the Duke of or why he's Duke. He's certainly not Duke Nukem.
Damn, those alien bastards shot up my ride.
No, this is not as much fun as Duke Nukem or any of the other games that I've named. So, bottom line here is play Gunboat if you're desperate to play a TurboGrafx or a PC Engine game that you've never played before. And once you've had the experience and you can say that you've done it, you never need to do it again. It is not worth the repeat value. There is no repeat value in my opinion. Monotonous gameplay, no music in the background, terrible sound effects that will grate on you like nails on a blackboard. It is an overall insufferable experience that should only be repeated by the most sadomasochistic of video game players. Gunboat isn't fun, but I can say that I had fun telling you how bad it was, so perhaps there is that. I'm Mr. MegaManFan. Thanks for watching, and the PC Engine Files will return with a hopefully much better game next week.